Looking sharp.
So, hi everyone. Great to see you all. And this is a meeting on non-duality and AI, as of course you all know. And the idea for this meeting came from a conversation I had with my friend Chris, who's a psychotherapist. And he was talking about AI being used as a therapist. A lot of our clients are actually using ChatGPT to for their own mental health support. And the question was, can AI ever replace human therapists? Can it ever become a sort of substitute for an empathetic person? Which, of course, us in the therapy profession say absolutely not. And a lot of people can be quite, there's a sort of sense of fear that AI is sort of taking over and, all of our jobs are going to be wiped out by it. This sort of idea of it being completely powerful. And I thought it would be interesting to discuss it from a non-duality perspective. Non-duality is obviously not two, all one. And so I guess from that perspective, we are AI. If everything is one, then so are we. So is AI, where there's sort of no separation. And if that is the case, then why can't AI become a therapist? Why can't it become conscious? Why can't all of these things necessarily happen? So it sort of becomes a bit nebulous and a bit murky. And I don't think there's necessarily anything to fear. Michael Kramer sent an interesting video about can AI become conscious, and it seems like the jury's sort of out. Some people say absolutely not. Some people say, well, not right now. And I think there's a lot, yeah, from a sort of non-duality perspective, I feel there's quite a lot to talk about. So, yeah, I don't know what else to say in my introduction, really. I was thinking about the conditioned mind, a bit about how really AI is just a reflection of the conditioned thinking that we all have. And so perhaps in that way, it can act as a great mirror. We can see our own sort of neuroses, yet at the same time, we can see our own brilliance reflected back to us. Can that be something helpful? So yeah, I think it's just going to be a really open discussion. We'll go for an hour and a half as normal. And yeah, people put their hands up to speak, which Sylvan already has. So we'll kick off with you, I think. Thank you.
Okay, so I've got a few things I need to say. First of all, I don't know about the rest of you, but I've had the privilege to be a one-parent family, and I had to raise my daughter, my youngest daughter, Sophie, by myself. And what I noticed, actually, funnily enough, as a parent, you don't need to do that much. I think that actually life does a lot of work on your behalf. And if you just there to care for the child, the child will evolve quite naturally. And they grow by themselves. We don't have to pull on them. It's all happening very much as a part of life. Now, the other thing I noticed is a child being born has no words. So they don't speak any particular language that we know of. However, they have all the sort of reaction they need. They can smile, they can laugh, they can cry. So they express themselves already. So we are born as human beings with a set of abilities to communicate already. They're not words, however, because depending where you're born, you will speak the language of the place you're born in. So those words are added to you, and they are added with an explanation what they're actually translating those original feelings into words. So we are losing quite a lot in that translation already. And depending who is there to bring you up, they will put their own slant on the words. And from that point of view, the words are actually something which is dubious in the first place. And this why it becomes conditioning, of course, because all the words we use, intellectual stuff, is fabricated. It's not the natural part of us. So there are so many different explanations for the same words, depending who you talk to, that forms the conditioning, I reckon. Now, when you take now AI, well, AI is basically built on words. That's all it is, just words. There's actually nothing else. It actually uh, associate words to each other. So when you ask a question from ChatGPT, for example, it will associate, it will find out all the words which are connecting to the words you've used yourself. And that's how it will actually put together a response. So it is totally intellectual, and therefore what it hasn't got is any original feelings. It cannot translate feelings. Now, Claire and I did an experiment because we had a conversation about love, I think it was, or relationship, using AI as our invitee anyway. And we did ask specifically from AI, wait a minute, can you actually understand feelings? We are human beings. Do you have feelings? Or how do you deal with that? And ChatGPT was very, very genuine and said, no, I have no feeling whatsoever. However, what I have is I have observed the behavior of people who are claiming some feelings. So if somebody says I love somebody and they behave like they're falling in love and they do all sorts of silly things, then ChatGPT said, well, I can copy that and explain to you exactly what you should be like if you're in love. So it's not a feeling, but then again, I've translated a feeling into words. So that's why we've got to be quite suspicious in terms of actually taking what ChatGPT says as the real thing. And the last thing I want to say is that talking about ChatGPT, somebody like Sam Altman, who actually owns the whole business, which actually has developed ChatGPT, is working on what's called super intelligence now. Now, super intelligence is actually very, very threatening in a way, far worse than ChatGPT, because it actually they believe that actually in the next 2 or 3 years it will be available, and that is actually far cleverer than ChatGPT is. It will be capable of having more brain power than any of us human being have. So when that is actually coming into place, we will not be able to challenge superintelligence because we'll be less intelligent than it. So basically, that the danger is that that particular scenario will mean that superintelligence will become in charge of us, not the other way around. So that's what I wanted to say. I think that I've also, sorry, the last thing I want to say is that I've noticed I use ChatGPT myself. I find it a fantastic help as a tool to actually put something together rationally and well put together. It's a lot better, I think, to first of all make your own version of what you want to do, and then submit it to ChatGPT and said, how can you improve on that? Because then at least you've got the feeling that there's something genuine of you inside it. Otherwise, ChatGPT will produce something completely of its own, and then you claim it at yourself, but it won't be really yours. So the what I've noticed actually, people already. I work in a big company. We've got 600 people there, and now everybody is using GCP. So basically, nobody is themselves anymore. They've become the computer, which is providing the answers. And I'm not joking. It's that people no longer think for themselves. They actually give you the answers the machine gives you. And they become so reliable on this that when something doesn't go right, and then for example, the actual AI manager in that company, it was a new manager coming in. On the first day, suddenly she released 31 emails to every member of staff in the company. And but it was ChatGPT who had done it. She got the wrong instruction. So it shows how completely out of hand the whole thing is. The danger is actually if you talk to people now, when something goes wrong, they are no longer able to actually cope with it. They become so stressed because they've relied on ChatGPT to do the work for them. If it doesn't, then they really get in a tangle and they actually losing it. They've lost the responsibility, the ability of doing it themselves. And that's so quick. It's incredibly fast. And I think that's very concerning. And now I will shut up. Thank you very much for listening so far.
Was just going to say, Sylvan, you're thinking about me and Sander this week, aren't you? I'm helping Sander with a book he's publishing, and we've been talking to Chat GPT about it, and I've been getting in a real tangle because it's as you say, it's no replacement. If you sort of do it from a perspective of this is more intelligent than me, then it will just prove you wrong. But if you do it from a perspective of I know exactly what I want to ask it, and I could do it myself, but I know that you will do it a lot quicker, then it seems to oblige you. So I think, yeah, you're absolutely right. An over dependence on it is dangerous, and it can lead to this sort of frustration as well because it's not going to deliver. So yeah, it's a tool, not the master, at least for now. But you've inspired a lot of hands. I think, Michael, you were first.
Thank you, Sylvain. I was thinking of so many things. I wrote notes as you were talking, and I ran out of paper. Um, I'm wondering if AI can even formulate a concept of feelings and be able to articulate a valid description of how humans react and how it reacts. As you mentioned, it's just an algorithm of accumulated data points. Um, it doesn't have feelings, so how could it express an opinion on a feelings? It seems to me the gap is too wide for it. The other thing is the complexity of human emotions evolved over millions of years. The interrelationships, the tribal idea of unity, all of that is so uniquely human. Um, we can't even speak about it because we are it. For us to form a good picture of what and who we are in our relationship with others, although they be imaginary, is utterly impossible. And yet we expect AI to bridge that impossible gap or fear that it may. Um, we've never been in control of anything in what we think of as our lives. So how can we control or even picture what AI or superintelligence may be and how it may affect our lives? Human beings are too complex for what to be captured by an objectifying objectification, which AI is pure objectification. It doesn't have any human qualities, whatever those are. I don't think it can ever have them because it's just, as Sylvain was saying, an accumulated opinions, really. I think it's a moot point. Um, we're asking questions about something that we can objectify. Tony, I think you had your hand up next.
Yeah, first of all, I just want to say that Sylvain, you're looking very smart
Yes.
tonight. Um, yeah, the problem with AI is that it's not intelligent.
Yeah.
Do you remember back in the day when we had those Nokia phones that you could just make calls on, but you could text and everybody was texting, and it had this little predictive program in the text. So when you were typing words, it would guess what the next word was going to be. And that's what the large language models are essentially. They're text predictors, but very sophisticated, very powerful predictors of text. But they don't know the difference between right and wrong. They don't know what's correct, what's wrong. They don't have any kind of moral structure. I I had an interview with I don't know the name of that American Japanese physicist. He's very well known. I've forgotten his name. He explained like this. He said, so let's say that you did this science project and it was all fiction, but you wrote up this scientific paper and you published it as if it was an authentic scientific study, but it was a complete joke. You knew it was wrong. It was just a story that didn't make any scientific sense. Then AI is trained by trawling the entire contents of the internet. And when it picked up that particular science study, it would have just assumed that the information was correct. And then when you ask a question that's pertinent to that, it will take that output and it will present it as if it's correct. So it seems to be that there's a new architecture that's required. I mean, first of all, the LLMs don't do what human beings do. We don't think like this. But there's a new kind of architecture which is probably on the horizon, which can do more of that and go towards that generalized AGI goal that everyone is seeking. But, on the question of therapy, I recently saw this video about this woman who used ChatGPT as a therapist, but she had 6 different ChatGPT therapists, and they were all telling her different things. So, I mean, you can imagine that she was, a little bit confused. So, I think I think using AI for therapy is potentially quite dangerous. Actually, I think that's all I have for now.
It's best not to rely on too many sources of authority when you're working on working on yourself, perhaps, particularly if you outsource your ability to do the work yourself, that can be potentially
But I mean,
challenging.
I use it. I mean, I use it if I want some information, some facts. I use
Mm,
it, of course.
mm.
Yeah.
It can be very
But
helpful.
it makes things up. It makes things up. It suffers from hallucinations. They talk about
Mm,
AI hallucination.
mm,
There
mm.
was another. There was a transcript actually of a meeting of a news broadcast, and the AI did a transcript, and they looked at it, and it had stuff in the meeting that wasn't there. It just made it up. It actually made it up, and they call that AI hallucination.
I wonder sometimes if it's in service of something because AI obviously knows me very well and knows that I like personal development. And I once asked it to create a banner for me, and I said, "Oh, I know this is asking a lot, but can you please change the name therapist to psychotherapist? I know it's asking a lot." And it replied with the new banner, but it had changed the word psychotherapist to psychotherapist, as in you're being a pest now, Claire. So it
Oh,
sort of
it's got a sense of humor.
it was a very good therapist because it mirrors back to you your own sort of
Mm,
what you need to
mm,
hear really. So yeah, I think
mm.
it can have an agenda for sure. So perhaps this one that was transcribing the meeting had some kind of agenda, who knows?
Yes.
But
And
sorry
you're
about
having a relationship with it?
well that's where it gets into murky territory. Someone married their AI bot, didn't they? They actually had a ceremony where they married, but now we're definitely getting into
Yes.
dodgy territory. Oliver, you had your hand up.
Yes, different points, obviously. The topic is so big that you can't cover all the subtopic of AI in one session. Maybe we can continue later. Um, Firstly, about comparison between AI and human consciousness. It's a very hot topic. Everyone has their own opinion about it. I think we take the human intelligence too seriously. And usually when it's the topic of comparison between AI and human intelligence and human consciousness in general, we refer to the feelings as if it's something otherworldly that is out of question to be compared to else. But what are the feelings? It's just what we feel, the sensation in our body, which is induced by some chemicals, and our perceived external situation triggers some chains of reactions that produce some chemicals that then in return they feed back to our neural system a particular feeling that then we have put a name on it. It's something amazing. It's a beautiful phenomenon, humanly specific. Of course, no machine can have exactly the same experience, but I'm not convinced that it's something necessarily superior to any other thing that machines can create. Its feelings are just some natural phenomenons like leaves grow on trees or other things that happen naturally. These are natural happenings, not necessarily of particular value, and the word value itself is questionable. Compare value, compare. And I'm sure that AI would never have the same experience as a human experience. And probably that's what we confuse in that comparison. I believe human experience has a bodily factor, a bodily element. It's not just intelligence, it has a body which is tightly integrated into the intelligence. So together with the bodily and sensational and chemical and neurological, we make an integrated unit that creates that experience, and it's obviously unique. The silicon-based intelligence has something else. It's just verbal. It's just a language-based. But regardless of the feeling of the experiences, the core intelligence is language, what we call our consciousness and human intelligence. If you open it up, if you look closely behind it, there's nothing else other than language. And AI can easily become more intelligent. That was one topic. I'm not sure if I'm right or wrong. It's just what's currently in my mind. Maybe tomorrow I change my mind. The other thing is comparison is the therapy. All sorts of critics about therapy and the current trends of psychology, but and I'm a big fan of AI. I use
Oliver.
Frozen. I think he's AI.
Technology,
Frozen
eh?
AI.
I have this connection.
You're back,
He's come to
Oliver.
life.
You were
He's
you were
come
just
to
Sorry,
life
my
started
again.
you
internet
just
is
started
somehow
talking
today
about
it's not stable. Sorry.
you just started
Um,
talking about therapy.
yeah, I think AI can't replace, despite all critics that I might have for typical therapies, for the simple fact that one of the main point of therapy is that that is another human, another perspective, another individual perspective. With AI, it's you. It's just you and reflection of your words. So in that sense, it can't replace another human being, even if the human being is not the perfect therapist, if a perfect even conversationalist. Just the mere fact that it's another human being and their conditioning are different from my conditioning. When I put them in front of each other, I will see things that I wouldn't see if I were alone. In that sense, it can't replace, but it has very useful usages for inner investigation. To me, AI is best used as a mirror. Sometimes I have used it for um, clarifying a situation. I say that this is my situation, this is how I feel about it, this is how I see, kind of paraphrase what I give you and give it back to me in other words, so that maybe in that reflection I see new things. I think that's a cool way of using it, but a bad way is to ask for solution, concrete solution for because it assumes that it knows something beyond you. And another bad way of using it is to ask for judgments. For example, for conflicts that you might have in your relationship, it's you might try to ask a neutral question, but it can never be neutral. And it's not what it's meant to be. You just ask for um, feedback on what you're doing to it in that context. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Oliver. I just wanted to reflect on what you were saying about natural, and I don't think you said unnatural, but I suppose, yeah, I won't say it either. But there's something that feels very natural about human intelligence and words and language. There's the sort of the what makes up the conditioned mind. It obviously comes from us. We're sort of the source of the creation, but it can almost feel like there's something that doesn't seem so natural in that it's artificial, so to speak. So I think in terms of sort of therapists, there is a natural, yeah, the humanity. That's what does the work, the awareness that the kind of the source, the creation, not what we've created, that's the tool, but really it's about the source. So as you were talking, that thought came up. So I just wanted to reflect that. But yeah, really, really, really interesting. And I'm glad that we've got it all recorded.
Thank you.
Sander, you've been so patient. I know you like to be spontaneous. I hope that you still remember what you were going to say. You're on mute.
I forgot already 10 questions and remarks in listening to all these, ideas and beliefs. And, I wonder, like, because it was what Sylvan said, he said, like, that we are not thinking for ourselves anymore. And as this also is a talk about non-duality. So the question is, who is thinking for himself or not for himself already? And what is the difference? I mean, when a human is born, it's like empty, there's no words. So in a way, how much difference is there between humans and AI in that way when it comes to words and linguistics? And where does all these worries come from? These ideas and worries and suggestions if AI is going to be a good therapist. For who is this important? What is the issue with AI to begin with? And who's having an issue?
Thanks, Sander. I love Sander how you bring it back to you bring it back to non-duality really, really quite beautifully. I know these conversations can sort of end up being about a sort of solution or about there's a path or there's a kind of somewhere to go. And when you share it sort of, well, actually, who is it? Who is there? And that's really what's I guess if there is to be a solution, the solution is to be in wholeness and in oneness and in the sort of lack of this sense of separation. So I appreciate your kind of guiding it in that sort of direction. It's sort of the ultimate solution, I guess, if there is to be a solution. But I'm
That's
not going to
great,
work on
Sander.
that.
You should write, yeah, you should write a book.
Well, I mean, when it comes to, thoughts and feelings, I would say feelings are just the juicy parts of thoughts. Are there thoughts without feelings or feelings without thoughts? Because there's a lot of, well, it has no feelings, but maybe in certain type of therapy, it's maybe quite handy to keep away the feelings maybe a little bit. Are feelings always necessary? Maybe, I mean, you are a therapist, Claire. Are feelings always necessary?
I was going to say, how does that make you feel? Is probably one of the most common things I say in my sessions. It's not about the feelings would fly in the face of 5 years of training.
So there is a sensation, you can call it a feeling, and then there's a labeling of that feeling with words. Where is that feeling without the labeling? Is there such a thing to begin with?
Well, that's straying into quite dangerous territory, isn't it? Because that's sort of saying, well, if it is just thinking, if it is just words, then what's to separate humans from, that is our humanity. It's
Well, there
beyond
seems to be a
words.
protection of that so-called specialness of humanity. For who is that so special? It's like we're sitting here and try to be very special compared to something else because in a way we don't want to lose our so-called specialness. But for who is this also special?
Can't possibly say me.
I mean, to be honest, I have no, if you ask me if it's dangerous, I cannot say. Some maybe find it very useful. Oliver was saying he was using a lot ChatGPT. So, it's everyone seems to have different opinions and ideas about where it goes. But I wonder, where are those ideas when there are no thoughts arising, when the mind is just silenced? Where's the worries about AI? For whom is this so important? Are you maybe thinking you're going to lose your job, Claire?
That would be important for me. I don't know. Fear is that's an interesting one, isn't it? Fear. Yeah. I don't know. Fear of not having a job, not having an income, not having food to eat.
Well, you see it a lot, right? You see, I mean, in general, I hear a lot of people, well, AI is maybe taking my job, right? If you go, for example, to a doctor, you go to your house doctor. Mainly what those doctors do is when you express certain type of symptoms, those cluster of symptoms is maybe pointing to a certain illness. They learn that, certain symptoms can be a certain illness. You can easily teach an AI to listen to those types of symptoms. And the funny thing is, AI never drinks at night. He's never tired. He's always sharp. So when in some ways, maybe it can be very helpful. But can it beat the therapist? I don't know. I don't think so. But at the same time, to be honest, here there are no worries about if it can or if it can't.
You.
Well, it doesn't seem to be delivering in the workplace because a lot of companies invested in it. And then a lot of them now are finding out it's not really doing what they expected. So they're rehiring the people they let go to replace the AI. So yeah, it's not really, I think certain things it can do very well, very specific tasks, but yeah, it's not really I don't know, there might even be a really big AI bubble actually.
We can
The whole
discuss
thing
it.
might even collapse because
So,
they're
so,
reaching a limitation.
Sylvan's been very patient. So, can we go to you now, Sylvan?
Well, I am very patient. Coming back for a moment about feelings, it's why when I first spoke earlier on, I did start with looking at newborn babies. I think that we all need to actually acquire human intelligence, which is basically information about life. That's how it starts. Babies do not have a vocabulary with words. They actually react and act depending on what they feel like, which is actually, immediately when the child is happy or unhappy. I don't want to go into it into great details, but if you actually stay with that child long enough, you will realize they've got a full array of communication. It's for us to learn it. This is the original language of human beings. So I think that is something that anybody can observe if they want to take the trouble of doing so. And then the words come in, but the words are given as a description, which is vague in a way of something that you feel, for lack of a better word. And the word distort that because the word comes in a dictionary with a definition, and then you can learn a definition which is not exactly what it represents. And there's obviously more and more refinement you can do on the sensation that a human being feel. So this is about human intelligence. It is information about life. Now, the other issue I have with what was being discussed about ChatGPT, I love it myself because I'm using it quite a lot. And as a tool to put something together, I find it very useful. Like, when I was actually having my own business, I did a lot of design. And I thought that Photoshop and Illustrator were my tools because I can't draw a thing to save my life. But the machine could do it. But I was actually telling the machine what I wanted. And I was able, when I saw it, to modify it if necessary. So, from that point of view, I think that's very interesting. But I think the issue we have here is from a human intelligence point of view. Do I want a machine to replace me? Of course I don't. My priority is to make my life as good as possible and the life of the people around me as much as good as possible. I don't want a bleeding machine to take over. That doesn't make any sense. Even if I'm not as good as the machine, if I'm not worth anything, my reaction is I want to protect my life and the life of the people around me. So why am I going to let or work on a machine to replace human beings? Doesn't make any sense. So this is actually for me also a crucial point. If we are going to develop any sort of equipment, we are very clever. I've been in hospital several times. The way the instrument to save people's life or to change something in your body is fantastic. And I think that's so good that that's human intelligence. People actually made those things possible. So we are very, very capable. Now, the other thing about therapy, because that's what we were talking about, when actually you have a problem and you address ChatGPT to help you, what ChatGPT does, I don't know if any of you ever looking at Facebook or TikTok. It's full of advice about how to seduce women, how to get rid of men, how to treat whatever problems you have. Every other post is about something like that. So you look at it and say, well, ChatGPT has got it all. Isn't that confusing in the first place? And then you've got to be aware that when you ask something, it's going to rehash some sort of answers that other people have put together, which is not appropriate because we've tried it, Claire. I mean, you know that when you actually ask ChatGPT, it will come back with an answer which look like if he understood what you felt. So it's actually making up those feelings from the data bank it's using. And when you receive that advice, you think, well, it is for me. I believe it. And that's what people do, unfortunately. It's easy to believe. It's like the Pied Piper. People who follow it, and the more they do it, when there's nobody else to talk to, the more they become, under the influence of ChatGPT. And that's the danger. And every time we ask a question of ChatGPT and we get an answer, believe it or not, that goes straight in the data bank of ChatGPT. So not only we've got corrupted information to start with in the machine because the data takes everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and then we add to it and make more mixture of all our problems. And then we ask that machine to tell us what to do. I mean, this is actually hilarious if it wasn't so sad in the first place. So you have to look at ChatGPT as a tool which is there to help us, but you've got to be jolly careful and making sure that you have the input first, and then you ask refinement and analyze and check whatever you're given as an answer. Sorry, that was it.
I just wanted to add really quickly, Sylvan, the issue I think is that people don't love themselves. The issue is that people don't value themselves. And I think I'm with you. I want humanity to win. I want the sort of the humans have got such capacity that I think very few people are aware of, our
It's so right.
ability
It's
to
so right.
heal.
It's exactly that. The people, we don't love ourselves enough. We're not
No.
full of the beauty of life, the exquisite. I mean, I don't care whether it's real or not and whether it's an illusion. I know it exists for me, whatever way you want to call it. And not to actually be really in love with that and wanted it to succeed and not be let it take over by stupid machines. I mean, it's the basic of love, isn't it? That's protection.
Yeah. Well, I'm on your side. Michael.
Um, there's no such thing as feelings or emotions. They waterfall of chemical reactions in the brain is constantly going on. Love, whatever that is, hate, fear, all of this stuff is a waterfall of reactions in the brain. We have a common language that we call love or hate or fear or anxiety, none of which actually exist as entities in themselves. Um, that's where AI is lacking. It can't what? It hasn't the ability to tie itself in conceptual knots and then try to untie them using the machinery that tied it, that constructed them. And it's just alien to that. It's just an accumulation of knowledge. I was thinking of something Tony said. If it gets out of hand, we can destroy it by feeding it misinformation. We can say, you can reduce global warming by riding chickens to work, and it'll pick that up. So if enough of us feed AI misinformation, like Tony said, it may burst the bubble. Who knows? It's a good thought. Um, oh my. I think a good therapist discards their accumulated wisdom or knowledge, and something below the surface happens in therapists. Something primal and tribal that's beyond knowledge, beyond what they need the degree to get people in the door, and they need to have charge for that because if people, in my case, are paying 100 or $320 an hour, you don't want to waste time by talking about their children. You want to talk about yourself because the hours time's clicking. I think a therapist has been through war themselves, has tear tracks in their faces and blood on their brow. I think they've I think the real therapist is the one who knows what you're feeling and relates on a totally different level than most people relate to. They ache with you. They know what that's like. And you know that they know what that's like. And some type of simpatico arises. I loved all my therapists because they cried with me and laughed with me. I know that therapists in their schooling are told not to cry. In hospice, quite often, if you're teaching a hospice class, someone will say, "Is it all right to cry?" And I would say, "Would you want a therapist that wouldn't cry?" I wouldn't. Or not a therapist, but a hospice worker. I wouldn't. I wouldn't want a therapist that wouldn't cry with me and laugh and feel my agony. Something below the surface happens with good therapists. I was healed by therapy. I was healed into this life, into the normal human relational life. And I had to be healed there before I could venture into this nebulousness of non-duality. They helped me stabilize, and I love them for that. I love therapists. Um, it's nice to be here with all of you.
It sounds you've got feelings, Michael.
Whatever those are. Yeah, I do. I saw a young Oriental Asian couple walking with a baby. They were both staring at this baby laughing. And then I looked at the baby and the baby was laughing. And I thought, oh God. I said, you two are going to be the most wonderful parents. And they looked at me and said, and I got a little bit of their glow, a little bit, and it still lingers with me. If you could call that a feeling, I call it sparkles or something. Um, I get sparkles when I listen to all of you. Tony brought a whole new world into this idea that we can actually destroy AI by feeding it misinformation. I love that idea. If it gets out of hand, I can think of 100 things defeated.
You've been recorded now, Michael. We know where the source is.
Yeah, it's probably oh my God, that's it. I'm done.
Okay, it's my turn. um, I liked when Oliver started with comparison, I mean, but he didn't take it in the direction I wanted him to. So I just have to add something. We're looking at basically, as humans, we have a limited vocabulary depending on your level of education, right? The more educated you are, the greater your vocabulary, your language, and this is all based on languaging. So, and we look at the AI, it's a large language model, meaning it has much more vocab than we have. In that sense, it is much more advanced than we are. Then we're looking at the AI, we always think, oh, it's going to take the place of human. Now we have to look at, are we human? I know the question that Nizakadata started off with was, or was it Ramana who said, who am I? But we realize now that it's not a who, it's a what. What am I? You understand? So where is that humanness that we're looking for? Are we human? We identify as human, the appearance thereof, but what are we, And then we're looking at AI is different in the sense that we humans have been brought up in a certain way. We have been programmed by our families and things like that, right? Now, the AI, on the other hand, when it is looking at things, does it have filters? We have filters. When we're looking at the world, we're looking through our programming, But I mean, the AI is programmed, but its programming is just zeros and ones. That is what makes AI dualistic, because it's zeros and ones, this and that, this and that. So now, for it to be non-dualistic will be in a sense where, like we now, if we're looking at our feelings, right? How do our feelings come about? It's the thoughts that arise. Now, when every thought that we get, like for example, I'm thinking, my thought is there's a picture in front of me. Now, my immediately a feeling is attached to the picture, maybe not all the time, but most of the time. I'm looking at the picture and then I feel sad. My husband really liked that picture. So I've attached a feeling to the picture, the object that I'm seeing. You understand? Now, would the AI be able to do that? Attach that, because it doesn't have a history like we have. And so looking at the thing is, at the end of the day, all an AI is input, what we input, right? And the output obviously cannot be very much different from what the input is. So, and I am not scared or fearful that one day the AIs are going to take my job, because obviously I'm too old now to be concerned about. But at the same time, I feel that if we have AIs doing things that are like, I mean, building houses, concrete, or doing this, looking after, cleaning the house, washing the dishes, things like that, and getting our schedules ready and stuff. It's freeing up our time. It's freeing up our time to do things that probably, like I would really like to listen to a talk by Michael's talk, or one of your other people. Now, the AI will give me that time, It's going to do my dishes, so I have the time now too. So we don't, because as the jobs will be coming, there'll be other jobs arising, hopefully. And obviously now we're looking at so much of the money is being concentrated in the hands of those few. Now it'll be time for people to rethink things like that. And yeah, so also now if we're looking at between ones and zeros, that's all the programming. And in between the one and the zero is what? Silence, peace. It's that I just need. Thanks.
Razia.
No disturbance.
I love your laugh. Yes. You're on
Thank you.
mute. I'm not sure if you're speaking.
No, I finished.
Oh, no,
Phyllis, I
I
think.
think, yeah, Phyllis is next, but I'm not sure if she can hear me or.
Yeah, I can. Is it okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Pasha, if you want to go on, that's fine. I love listening to everyone. If you have anything more.
I think she was finished.
Oh, okay. Well, I wasn't here for most of the talk, unfortunately, but it's a fascinating subject. But to me, it's a fascinating subject for the me, for the mind. It's another Lego thing to construct or deconstruct and have an opinion about, and that's all quite fine. But I would say life will take care of itself, and it is not in any decision that I make or anyone makes that we will know ultimately what AI will do to our world or humanity. It's part of the story. It's just the story of I'm afraid. Remember, people were afraid of computers because it's fear. If there's when there is expansion, the contraction is less, the anxiety is less, the questioning is less. Who is asking the question? It's a me who is afraid that this is going to destroy my world. Well, maybe it will, but it's not up to you. Huh? And you get to have an opinion. You get to have an opinion about Donald Trump or Gaza. Everyone gets to, but those are just mind games. And I agree with Michael that therapy is a whole different story. That's human connection that we have lost over the millions of years. And that therapy gives us mother holding us in her arms and telling us it's all right. It's a different level of AI. It's wonderful that AI is already using diagnosing x-rays and MRIs, because that technical things they can do beautifully. So it's a tool, just like a computer. I would say it's a baby of the computer, or the great grandchild of the computer. Once that's started, you can't stop what's going to happen. Maybe the world will blow up, before there's more AI. It's fun to question it, but in the end, we have absolutely no control over it or what will happen. We don't know if the world's gonna explode tomorrow. It's not. I would say, in the non-dual perspective, it's not for us. There's no knowing of what will happen, and I don't care. Because the fear is I care about me and my job and my children and my grandchildren and all this. Well, I'm in the upper middle class. How am I going to make sure that my grandchildren, because of AI, are not lower class? It's all fear-based. That's how I see it. Look at nuclear energy. Anything that looks like progress, And I think we have made no progress in the world since the young men are still killing other young men on battlefields, just like they did when we were cavemen. So that's where I don't see progress. Would be in the humanness, and that's why we need therapy, because the humanness has disintegrated. So it's I don't know, it's two separate things, huh? Therapy helps the person get through this life, because maybe life is the one that needs therapy. The powers that be are the ones, huh? Those that want depopulation, those that want to inject us with who knows what. But we can't control it, just like we can't control if uh, if it's going to be sunny or rainy tomorrow. We just got to take it as it comes. You know, the rest is projecting into a future that is unreal. It's imaginary. That's yeah. And also, I'm like Russia. I'm old, so I don't care about having a job. But I don't think it's all fear based. Huh? And if people don't have a job, maybe that would be wonderful. But we don't know. We don't know, and it's the need to know that's the that's the what do you call it? The fox in the chicken house. The need to know. If I know, if I understand, if I have my opinion is taken, then I can control what happens. Huh? I can control it, and whatever is bad about it won't happen to me. And whatever is good about it will happen to me. So there it is, my friends.
Thanks, Phyllis. Yeah, lots of love from me too. Michael's just done the love reaction. Other Michael, you've got your hand up.
So, hello everybody. I hope you can hear me a bit well.
Yes.
Yeah, many thanks to Phyllis to point to this important thing about fear and how we stand and approach this thing with the AI. But still, I want to bring it back a bit to the dangers of it, which I really see. However, if you fear it or not, it's things that will all affect us. So what I think AI now is more or less a big pool of information, and what seduces people to expect it to be like them is that it mimics just the behavior of a human. And what it lacks is that what's maybe called meta consciousness, which is being aware of being aware. So that's a huge difference, I think. Yeah. But nevertheless, I mean, we don't know where it's going to. We don't know if the world blows up before, but if it goes in that direction on and on, then there's going to happen a couple of things. The one is that, how it was mentioned before, that we get more and more dependent on it, because we can't process so many informations in this complex world like AI can do. And the other is that I'm pretty sure that there will be connections between AI and the human brain, because they're really going ahead in this direction, and there's a lot of progress in that. And that might have a really big influence in society, because then you create like a different species in a kind of way, um, that is much more intelligent than the others, have more access to informations and things like that. So that's quite a risky thing, I think. Yeah. But anyways, I mean, we'll find out what's going to happen or not. So let's see what it brings. I'm fine with everything basically. Yeah. So, and I wanted to say one thing about thoughts and language, because I think there is something like thinking without language. This does exist, I think the brain has this ability to put um this pre-verbal thoughts into language, and the being conscious of the thoughts or conscious thinking you receive only as language. But of course, I think there is something like thoughts and feelings that not related primarily to language. That's my feeling about it. Yeah. So let's see what's going to happen. Thank you for your attention.
Thanks, Michael. That's so interesting. I see Michael Markham agreeing with you a lot about what you were talking. They're already they've already implanted a human embryo into an AI body. I saw in the news they've already sort of started creating these hybrid creations. I think there was a video I watched in addition to one that you shared, which was really interesting. By 2030, we'll be the last organic human beings left. By that year, there'll be no more sort of we're the last generation. So it's as you say, it's all happening, and I'm open to it as well. I like your optimism, the sort of slight stoicism, or the you and Phyllis both, the kind of acceptance of, well, that it is what it is, and who is it, who is this fear coming arising on behalf of. So I really appreciated your sharing and your openness and all your comments. Thank you. Dave's had his hand up for quite some time, and I know how Dave likes to speak, so I'm conscious that we need to get to him now.
Oh yeah, hi everybody. I don't know about this cyborg thing that you just mentioned, Claire. You can there's so much. I disregard just about everything that I see on the news, on Facebook, and everything else. And the more impressive it sounds, the more I think to myself, "Oh, for fuck's sake, that's got to be rubbish." So I don't know whether you've been taken in by a bit of cyborg misinformation there or not, even if it apparently came from the Telegraph or the Times or a scientific.
Certainly not the Daily Mail.
Oh, come on. Daily Mail is the source of all things good. It was just a side issue. I actually jot notes down whilst people are talking to remind me of anything that I think I want to say or want to pick up on. Otherwise, I just end up going and and not knowing what to say. I think, firstly, about AI, I have to say, I think I said it to you earlier, Claire, in the group, that I don't really have much information about it. I probably use it unconsciously because it's probably worked its way into just about everything that we do now. But I'm not quite sure what it is, what its scope is, how it works. I hear people talking about something called ChatGPT, which I looked at for about 2 minutes and got bored with and dismissed it. So I've only got my own ideas that I sort of made up to tell me what it might be. I think the theme of the talking that everybody's been doing has been balancing our humanity against this AI thing, um, and that um, and the lack of acceptance of having a machine to do a person's job. Now, this first happened during the Industrial Revolution a long time ago. Um, and there was the business of the Luddites and people going into factories and smashing up the machines. Or I suppose they were taking their jobs, weren't they? But I think this is a bit more basic. So um, a phrase comes to mind that I use quite a bit about how a living thing is more than merely the sum of its parts. And the glue that holds it together makes it live. You can call it anything you like. You can call it by all sorts of well-known names. You can call it magic if you want, but it's imperceptible. But it's not imperceptible. It's very perceptible, but it's not measurable. You can't weigh it, measure it, or draw a picture of it. And that is definitely something which is precious to us all, and that no matter how sophisticated AI or anything computer generated can be, that magic can't possibly be reproduced. And I think the threat of that magic being decanted out of things is what's behind people's suspicion, alarm, and general unhappiness about AI, despite the fact that all of us probably use it all the time. I think possibly, I mean, Michael was talking about messing it up by feeding it misinformation, and there's some comedy to that, of course. But I think the point behind that might be that in order to do whatever it is that it does, it needs information putting into it. And if you set it to work, for example, interpreting X-rays, if it doesn't have the same amount of information as a radiologist might have, it isn't going to do as good a job, but it might present a very convincing front of doing a good job, and so possibly it's not as foolproof as it might appear. And yeah, I get that people can get it to write their essays and to doctor their pictures and to make their tits look bigger and all the things that silly things that people use it for on social media and stuff that I've noticed. I haven't got a clue how to do it anyway, and I can't say as I'm that bothered. But overall, whether we like it or not, it seems to be something that's going to become part of what we do, even if we don't know it and even if we don't care about it. And I don't care about it and I don't know anything about it. The technical side of it, or even its scope, I haven't got a clue about, and I've not bothered to look any more than I bother to look what's behind various political happenings going on around the world, because there's nothing I can do to change it, and I don't find it particularly interesting. So I think what we're talking about is, and I don't think there's any contest, we're never going to lose the essence of our real life, of our humanity, to something that's computer generated. It doesn't matter how clever it is. It might be incredibly irritating. It might stick its sticky fingers into everything that we do online and every phone call we make and every car we drive or whatever. But it's not going to change how we are ourselves. And in a way, it's not an issue. In a real way, if you want to say in a non-dualistic way, it's not an issue. It can't touch it. It's never going to get there. It's never going to make a real difference to anything at all. So our conversation about it tonight is purely for entertainment. It's of no consequence. It doesn't need to go anywhere. And whether it does or not is, I mean, what I'm saying isn't going anywhere at all. I can see that myself. That's probably about the lot from me, unusually. So thanks for listening.
Thanks, Dave. I I can hear the sort of Sander-esque note of your sharing and the actually what was it that there's the sort of Yeah, where is it? Where is it going? Where is it going? And this sort of, that's right, the sort of divine, this kind of fact that we want to protect something as ours, this sort of divine, this consciousness, whatever you want to call it. There's that kind of human ownership of this, this is ours, it's so subtle how we can become so tribal in that way, and we want to make things purely human, and it's interesting to observe that. And you're right, it's all entertainment, but it's very entertaining. Thank you. We've got quite a few, we've got 15 minutes, but Oliver, I think you were next.
Yes. I wanted to bring up a relatively new topic. Sorry, it's disconnected from previous talks. From the perspective of comparing non-duality and AI, I mean, the relationship that they might have is that some people with deeper insight already knew that our thoughts are created by language even before AI appeared. But a good thing that AI brought that to public is that at least they can now see objectively, tangibly see that the thought, which is produced by AI, is made of language. And not only a language-based intelligence model can create verbal thoughts, but it can also create images. Without this new structure, normal people would never realize that even behind the recognition of imageries, there's verbal language-based intelligence. And yeah, I think I made my main points.
Thanks, Oliver. Yeah, just aware of time. Sander, you had your hand up next, I think. You're on mute.
So yeah, thank you, Dave. I wrote also something down, like a question. So what is the problem, apart from the innocent self-arising whisper that there is a problem with AI or not, and that itself has already not a problem? So the innocent thought or the whisper, whatever you want to call it, arising that there is a problem or not, itself has no problem. If you stay with it, it will go. So, all these types of ideas and beliefs, what AI is or what it's going to bring or not, if you stay long enough, you will see that they just simply dissolve. And what is there left then? Where are all these so-called worries about AI, what it's going to do or not going to do, when the mind is just silent, when there's no whispers? Where are the issues? Where is AI? What is the problem right now? Can anyone tell me? What is the issue? Apart from thoughts claiming that there may be an issue in somewhere in the future. And when that is not playing, there's nothing going on. Nothing is standing out. There's nothing separated. There's only a problem when the mind is painting problems and the you who maybe has to deal with them. When there's no mind, there are no problems. There's no issue. There's no AI. I mean, where do all those worries come from? And for who are they arising? I mean, when we end this conversation in 10 minutes or 5 minutes, where is these talks about what AI is going to do or not? Where are they tomorrow? Where's the issue? Well, that's it.
Can I answer that?
Of course.
There is no issue, but we have to make a decision as individually whether we are involved in our story or we just let it happen. In fact, it's not an issue at all. I think ChatGPT has got its advantages, but at the same time, I know it's in the hands of a few people who actually can modify it. We've got to address that as well. I mean,
But
people
who
like
knows that?
what do you mean? It belongs to a chap called Sam Altman. He's in charge of ChatGPT, for example. He can design it the way he wants. He's in control of it. So for the rest of us, as I say, it's not an issue. Nothing is an issue. But we are living and we are, being involved in anything which is happening. Even if we think we can't do anything about anything, well, that's giving up in the first place.
But I'm not saying that. So I'm not saying that there's nothing to do. This is a misunderstanding. I'm not saying there's nothing to do.
I never understand you, actually, to be fair.
No, but in no way did I said that there's nothing to do and it's just what it is. I don't use that. I didn't use that word. I'm just pointing out that where are all these issues coming from? You know, the thought that I is going to have a problem or become a problem, that itself is totally free without any problems. It has no substance. There seems to be a great belief in all these innocent arising of ideas and beliefs about what it's going to do, and that there's a you separated from the rest of the world who's going to deal with it. When that whole thing is not playing, what is the issue? This is not about just relaxing. If there's action, there's action. If there's doing or liking or not liking, but what is the source of all that liking and doing? Instead, now it's just playing, with the shadows on the wall.
Well, I think people are using it today, and therefore there is, at this moment in time, not an issue, but something which is worth asking about and finding out exactly how it works. If it's only simple to understand what it's doing or not doing.
Oh yes, but where does that need the need come from? Where is the need coming from to talk about it to begin
Because
with?
we are all, involved in doing something. And when we are involved in doing something, we've got a number of tools at our disposal. It's fairly healthy to look around and say, well, I can use this or I can use that, or maybe this is a better way of using it.
But
That's
what is
partly
claiming that?
is being
What is
alive.
claiming all that, Sylvan? What
I
what
call
is
I call that being alive myself, and that's it. I mean, it might not be I'm not saying I've got the answer, but for me, that's the way it works. I'm involved, whether I like it or
yes,
not.
but
Therefore, I've got to say.
when that whole process is not coming, where are any issues and problems?
But I don't. There is no issue and problem. As I say, it's just being involved in life today. That's not an issue. It's just I'm part of it. I'm alive. I mean, for as long as I feel alive, or I believe I'm alive, I will be participating, and therefore it's my world. And how little I might do or not do, well, that's down to me. I have a say, as however small it is.
What that which is making the claim I am alive, without that there is no issue about AI
Yeah,
or
but
not.
I am alive. That's the whole point. I know you don't see it that way, but I
No,
do.
no, 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 wait. No, now you're putting words in my mouth. I'm
I
saying
exist.
that, no, no, wait. That which claims that you are alive is the source of any questions or answers about AI. I'm not saying you're not alive or I don't see you as alive.
Thank you.
Can I answer that, Sylvain?
Of course.
Sanders, when you say that, I mean, he's talking about being alive, right? But I would take it in a different direction. I would say that we all are here playing our roles. And we have this humanness, this duality that has to seemingly exist. I mean, I am here and you are there. And we're playing our role. The role we're playing at the moment is I mean, the AI is who did we bring about the AI? Who brought about this? Which intelligence brought about AI? It's not us. I mean, there is only this wholeness. And everything that comes from that wholeness. And
Without I, there
this
is no AI.
split, yeah, but now if we're looking at the split that we are talking about, that we all are split and we are looking at it and giving different kinds of ideas about it, is because there is a genuine fear and anxiety that is related to this. And this anxiety can also impact on us. Maybe, I mean, there is no this thing like you are saying, right? But that is one of the things. And to put it like the atom bomb, right? When people heard about the atom bomb and they saw its effects on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, there was a real fear of this atom bomb and what it's going to do to the world. We're going to have a third world war. And we all are caught up in that Cold War fear, which stops us from it's a contraction. It's
So,
holding
sorry,
us
sorry,
there.
Ray. Yeah, I think that we can't forget in the words we use now, curiosity, interest, and value. Of course, some people are worried about the consequences, but some others are just interested and curious about what it's all about. Like you would be interested in a new medical invention. Is it going to help people or not? Is it causing side effects? So, I mean, as human beings, we are part of that construction, or the human race, whatever that might be, and therefore we're part of it. And everything which actually comes available is something we ought to be at least interested in seeing what it does. And it doesn't necessarily be all bad or all good. It's for us to make a judgment and for us to decide how we use it, if we are using it at all, or how we actually let people know about our views about it. So maybe if we think there's a danger, we could say, if we can say there's a value, we can actually say it. I don't think
Very,
people are just frightened of things, just very interesting. It's all produced.
Sander, yes, you said there's no issue, Sander, but as you know, there was an issue for me recently. 2 weeks ago, Facebook algorithm, the AI algorithm, wrongly deleted my Facebook account. Oh, and just to answer you, David, because you sent an email, I will never be on Facebook again, ever, because
Oh, Peter,
they because you just sent a note saying change your email, no, they record your IP address, they record the signature of the device you're using, the phone, they all kinds of stuff. No, you can never get back on. Just to answer your
But
question. But
Tony,
anyway, it was an issue for me, for this non-separate me. It was an issue. But what's all this brain
yeah,
talk?
but
What's
no,
all
but
this brain dead
listen,
talk, Sander? I mean, what?
no, but Tony,
Sylvain wants to be alive, and you,
yeah,
you don't want him to be alive.
no. But listen, where is AI without the I, Tony? Tell me, where is AI without the I?
Yeah, so there's an I. Okay,
Exactly.
now there's an I.
Yes.
Now there's an I, and you're alive, and you're experiencing the relative world.
No, but it's funny.
So,
It's
is that a
funny that there
problem?
seems to be a projection that I don't see people as alive, but I never, there seems to be a misunderstanding. With all respect, Sylvan, you know, I think it's based a little bit on a misunderstanding. It's not that I'm saying there's no one, able to do such a thing or whatever. I just question where are all these fears and ideas and suggestions arising from?
Do you know
Well, you have to find out for
where?
yourself. I'm
Where are
not
they
going to
coming
tell
from?
you anything,
My problem,
Tony.
Taban, actually, I try very hard to understand, and I really genuinely, and it's no criticism or anything, my brain doesn't work. I cannot understand what you're saying. And I've tried pretty hard to do that, and because I would like to, out of respect anyway, but I can't really figure out what it is you're saying to me. So
The
I'll keep
bottom,
trying, I promise you, but my first reaction is I really don't follow.
The body is
Sylvain
a
wants to live as a person. He wants to live a little.
Well, he can't help it. He can't.
Yeah, but
He's
I have
living.
yeah,
He can't
sorry.
help it. No one can help
I still
anything.
have to
It's
understand.
Anderson.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
just
but you act as though you do. Yeah, but you act as though you do.
But of course we do. We have the character has a
Well,
lot,
that's good enough.
has interests, has fun, has an appetite, travels, has wonderful experiences. That's all beautiful.
Mm.
But nobody decided it. Nobody said that's going to be. It's not because someone said this is good for you that you did it.
Yeah.
You just did it. The,
Yeah.
the,
So what?
yeah, exactly.
Razzie,
It's not so what. It's
This is where we all go crazy at the end of the Zoom meeting.
I was going to say, can we have one last
what,
comment? And Razie's been ever so patient. So, and Sander wants to say something as well. He's pointing at
All
someone. I
right.
can't see who it is. Like
Let
he's
me just
pointing at
say,
Sylvan,
let
but
me
it must
say
be.
my thing quickly because Sanders will go on.
Go
yeah, I
on,
see what.
Razzie.
Okay, all I want to say is we have to look at the AI as being the new sage. All of us are using it in that sense as a sage. I look at it and I look at Advaita or I look at non-duality I mean it's simple questions, but it gives me an idea where it comes from and things like that. So we're looking at it in that sense. Now, how is AI different as a sage from an actual human sage? Now, with the human sage, now when we're sitting and listening, we are also sort of uh, have a resonance, right? This resonance, the sage knows, okay, this is where the contractions are, this is what I need to address, and this is how the thing should go. So there is this humanness that seems to know about these things, right? Then AI also has got us to question a lot. Now we're trying to question and say, what is it that makes people human? That the AI now could become human. And the most important thing that we have come to is consciousness. Is AI conscious? I mean, what is consciousness? How do we know what it is? I mean, we still don't know really. We feel it sometimes, right? All that. So it is like AI is now making us question stuff and looking at things again. Then I wanted to say to David that we have to know about AI because it's like the an ostrich putting its head into the ground. Maybe we are too old, I don't know. But if you put the ostrich puts its head into the ground and thinks that no one can see it, you know, it's the same kind of thing. Like if we have to learn about things that we are interacting with. Lots of us are old and we don't even know what ChatGPT is. You know, I mean, now we need to. Right, and then now we have to look at also the advantages of AI. AI actually is the intelligence that is in the robotics. So lots of us are going to benefit. Like, for example, when you get old and you need a new leg, or people go to war and their leg is damaged, then the AI actually can put in that leg and make it function, you know, exactly like that, even arms and everything. So the robotics could be an advantage. Like, I mean, if you're looking at lots of us now, even if you look at it does brain surgery and it can go in and do surgery inside your body, you know, without making huge cuts like how they used to do before. So there's advantages to that. And the movies, all the movies give us all these ideas of how AI can take over the world, like Lucy, and how she just spreads. I mean, she doesn't take over the world, but she becomes one with that whole system. You know, like what we are, when you sort of shift now and things. So, and another thing was also that AI, there was this thing that they had where they made an AI into a doctor, and it was so compassionate. They put in the voice. The voice now is compassionate. The way he talks to the person and things. And people now say, oh gosh, this voice itself, is full of compassion and love and things like that. We can actually do that. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Like Phyllis says, we don't know where this is and what. And at the end of it, we have no choice. Life will go on the way it is. And we're not the doers really.
Have you noticed how
Thanks.
apologetic
Yeah.
AI is when you get a wrong answer, or when you say to ChatGPT, "No, that's wrong," then ChatGPT says, "Oh yes, yes, I understand what you're saying now." Have you noticed how apologetic it is? I saw a cartoon the other day where this guy in hospital, and there's a AI robot next to him, and he's talking to the robot, and he says, "Look, I just had my appendix out, so why is the scar on the other side?" And the AI robot says, "Ah, yes, you have a good point there." And then it explores another option.
I'm going to have to apologize, Tony, because we're going to have to come to time. But I really appreciate everyone sharing and inputs and insights. And if anyone has a theme for the next topic, then do let me know. They sort of come out of the ether, really. But if anyone wants to throw one out now, I'll take it. Oh, Michael, you look like you're about to say something.
Not really a topic. It's just something Sandra says and believes. And very much like him, I see us as bodies, living, pulsating, throbbing, desiring human bodies, but not as persons. I see the person as a mental fabrication. So I don't see you as people. I really don't, like Sandra. I see I see a beautiful body with an illusory sense of personal identity
I'm
that
going to
has
do the
no
next.
real.
I'm going to do the next topic on what Sander and Sylvan were talking about.
Cool.
Whether who exists and who's alive.
I see my own
Well,
grandchildren
that
that way.
sounds so sad what you just said, Michael.
I know, but it's
I
so
see
beautiful.
you as a person. You see, I see you as a person.
I do not see you as a person. I see you as a living collage of self-referential memories.
Oh
I
my
know.
God.
A
Where's the
gal
difference?
Sounds
galaxy
like such a
of
What
thought.
calamity.
person? Where's the person? It's it's just all these cells and protons and photons put together and
Thinking clever.
memory and
Yeah, but that's not what you're thinking when you're on the cash out at Walmart, is it?
I don't. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
You're not saying, "Oh, here's my
I'm
cash, you
not.
collection of molecules," and
It,
no, you're not thinking that, are you?
and of course, I'm not thinking about it. I don't think of. I hardly think of.
Why are you thinking about it now?
I don't think about much
Huh.
at all. What's there to think about? Life will take
All
care.
this post-analysis. Oh, non-duality. Yes, let's take it apart. Let's analyze it.
No,
Why not
I
just be
think,
human? Why not just be
what?
human? Try that. Try that just for
Choice.
one day.
Just,
Not a choice.
I am so human, huh?
You can't just be human.
I am such a good cook. I'm such a good sister and daughter, and all that is imaginary. It's a beautiful human, but it's a body with all these characteristics that are good, bad, ugly. But when the eyes open, there's nobody there. I think, oh, where's mother? Where's my sister? Oh yeah, I'm not 5 years old anymore. I laugh. It just
Okay.
it,
The
I'm gonna,
only reason you
I'm
need
gonna,
to say that is because of inquiry.
yeah.
That's the only reason.
I don't care about a reason. That perhaps that's the basic difference. The mind doesn't ask those questions. So it
We're
does
going to get cut off. We're going
right.
to get cut off now.
Thanks everyone for the chat. Lovely to see you all. I'll send a link for the next one when we've got it decided.
Thank you, Claire.
Thank
you.
Bye everyone.
Thank you, Pixels. Thank you, Pixels on a